last week, you know, saw the piece on ESPN and all. How much did that take out of you? And how difficult was that to kind of have to go back in the past and relive all that?
You know, it probably hit me most on Saturday when I saw the piece, because they flashed up a couple pictures, a picture of my mom and, you know, some sentimental pictures. And, you know, throughout the course of the week, there was a day where I had to do a little bit of interviewing, which, you know, was emotional. But it was stressful on my family as well, because my sister, she didn't get featured as much in the piece as I did, but she spent a lot of time on camera interviewing, talking about, you know, a lot of things from the past. And, you know, the way that I've programmed myself is just to keep looking forward. You know, I acknowledge what happened in the past. You know, I think about my mom often, but I try not to focus on the events. I just keep pressing forward, trying to make sure that I live every day to make her happy. So it got a little bit emotional for me on Saturday morning when I saw the piece. But being around the guys, you know, they got me back locked in. They got me back focused. And you know, that's what I've used my entire life, is the motivation of others around me to push me, to keep me focused. And once I got back in front of the guys, I knew that they were counting on me, that I didn't have time to be emotional, that they were counting on me to be prepared and lead them in the battle.
You're a confident person, and I know you're confident in the guys you coach, but was there a moment in the first half where you're kind of scratching your head going, what's wrong with this offense right now? The stuff just wasn't happening. There was no rhythm, there was no continuity to it or anything.
Right. There was never a point, because I felt like the calls were there, and we were very, very close. And it was very similar to Boston College in that first half, where we were off a little bit. And just knowing who Deshaun is, and knowing the caliber of guys that we got, McClain's leadership, the way that Jay Guillermo's been playing, you know, so I wasn't really scratching my head, trying to find some things to make it a little bit easier, to see can we get some of that continuity going. But we were moving the ball, we just weren't connecting on some of those critical situations. But just, you got to stick with it. You can't abandon the plan. You know, that's one thing that I've learned throughout my life is you know, when things get bad, you can't go away from what you know. You got to just keep hammering away, and so just keep calling it. And then getting in there at halftime was big. Just calming the guys down and settle them and let them know, hey, let's go be who we are. You guys take pride in the fact that we executed at a high level. Just go be who we are. They didn't do a whole lot to stop us. Now, they had some schematic things that they changed up that we had to make some adjustments for, but a lot of it was we missed Leggett on a wide open ball down the middle of the field. We missed Wayne on a flat route where he's going to run for a while. So if we just be who we are, get back in rhythm, connect on the plays, we're going to be just fine.
And the interesting thing to me was when you look at it in terms of just the personality there in the second half of the offense, even though Deshaun threw a lot of passes, relatively speaking, the impression was that it was a pounded out, grinded out kind of thing, because of the way both he and Wayne ran the ball, the way the line opened holes and protected for them. So it was more almost an old school style, because it was taking pieces.
Right. Well, we started out and we had some success running the ball, and then there was a couple of stretches where we tried to go to some of our inside running game, and we didn't have as much success. But you know, our guys take pride in running the football, and we understand that when we run the football, we're in control of the game. You know, we had the issue there at the end of the half where we kind of wanted to get a touchdown there, but ended up with a field goal. But we were right where we needed to be. We weren't panicking. We were going to come out, set the tempo, running the ball, open up the pass. Let's see, can we get control of the game? The defense was playing great at that time, so we were feeding off of them. We just wanted to control the game, take the shots when they were there. Let's see, can we get a rhythm and not force Deshaun into a rhythm, but let's get him back in the flow, run the ball a little bit, let him run the ball, and then let him, you know, settle down and make some throws.
They were defensively last year, Syracuse. What have you seen on film differently as far as personnel and what they've been doing defensively this year?
You know, they've lost a couple guys up front. They're not quite as stout up front as they were last year. They got some experience at linebacker. They played a lot of guys in the secondary. There's been some injuries, so they're not quite as experienced as they were last year, but they play hard. A couple of the D linemen look like they're in better shape. They move a little bit better, especially number 13, their defensive end. He's a lot quicker. They're not quite as aggressive from a blitz standpoint. Now, they're going to bring pressure, but they used to bring a lot of zero pressure and really, really challenge. You haven't seen as much of that, but we're going to prepare for that because we're anticipating going up to their place. In their situation, they're going to take some chances.
Were you surprised a couple of years ago when they played as much press man as they did, especially with Sammy?
anytime you had Sammy out there, hey, that's what you wanted. You were looking for it. You were trying to get a check play that, hey, we got press coverage on Sammy, let's go over the top. But that's what their style was, and it was consistent with what they were doing against everybody. I think now with the injuries that they've had in the secondary, they can't quite be as aggressive and play as tight a coverage, but they're still going to mix it up. They're going to try and bring guys from different spots, bring some secondary guys, try to confuse you, trying to run your protections hot. So we got a good bit of preparation to put in this week to get prepared.
I know you don't look at what's going on in the game or what the score and that kind of thing, but if you get a chance to rest guys, are you going to take that opportunity the next couple of weeks?
I think any time that you can build depth, especially this late in the season, it's going to be critical. I don't know if you take the approach of resting guys. We got to be smart with our practice plan, just overall, because you're what game is this now? This game 10, going into game 10. We've got an injury on the offensive line with Tyrone, so we're going to have to move some guys around. But I don't think we'll take the approach of resting guys. But if we have an opportunity to get some guys some quality reps, we definitely want to do that.
You've played in domes, you've coached in domes. Was that dome any different when you went up there a couple of years ago? It's a little bit smaller, but anything stand out about it?
It was hot. I remember it was pretty warm. It looked like the fans were close to you. That was the biggest difference. You go to the Georgia Dome, everything's so big. It's a little bit tighter quarters, a little bit of noise. I hear that the press box is different than what. This will be my first time up in the press box up there, so I heard it's different location and style than what we've had here the last couple of weeks. But it don't matter where we play, who we play. We can play in the parking lot. We got to have the same plan.
You mentioned the offensive line injury. What are your options there? What are you at this point?
Maverick did a great job, and had a chance to talk with him prior to me getting up here. But he came in, and the first couple plays, that's when we had one of those miscommunications on the offensive line between him and Joe. But then once he got settled in, man, he really played his tail off. And very excited for him and his potential. You still got Norton, who's coming back, so you got flexibility with him and Jay that you can put at guard. You still got Taylor Hearns play some tackle, but if we need to, we can move him back inside. You got Falcinelli as another option. So we got some options inside now that Tyrone's going to be out for a little while.
How has Ryan's approach been just with being back healthy but losing the job to Jay and just being a reserve?
He's handled it like a champion. I think he wants what everybody wants, and he's still working himself back to where he's prepared to go out and compete. And I think once he's 100% and ready to go, then he'll be just fine. But he's handled like a champ. And I told him, I said, Ryan, we still need your leadership. And that's what's so dynamic about this team is, and perfect example is Rob Byers addressed the team, and a guy that's not playing a whole lot, but really supportive of the young guys. Everybody's pulling in the same direction, so he's handled it well. No issues there.
Do you have any idea what the timetable might be for Tyrone and Ray getting back?
I think it's going to be a week to week. The good thing is it's injuries that they can recover from, and it's really just going to be how their bodies respond. So we don't know. Probably this week will be a stretch for those guys, I would imagine, but I'm sure that they'll do everything they need to do. Danny Poole and his staff does an unbelievable job getting our guys back. So it's really going to be how their bodies respond.
What will Ray do to change what you want to do offensively?
I think we got to go with the same plan. Obviously, we'll fill some guys in there. You lose a little bit of depth at that two-man spot behind Tay. You're gonna have to move some guys around. Some of the two-back stuff that we had in the plan with him, we may not be able to get to, but otherwise, we'll still stick with the same plan.
Would you like to see someone back up, Tay, or does he just play the whole game in two?
No. We're gonna have to move some guys around, and because again, 80 reps at that position with the amount of vertical stretch that they do, the amount of speed motion that they do, the tempo that we play at. No, he's gonna have somebody that's gonna have to play behind him. And Coach Scott, is working through it right now to figure out what's the best option with the guys that he has available.
Has anyone worked there in fall camp or during the season?
Yeah, you have the ability for G-Hop to go over there and play that position. Sharon's a guy in the past that's played that position, that two-man spot in the past, not so much this year, so you got some flexibility there. You got Travion coming back, which allows you to move Renfro and G-Hop, so you got some flexibility there.
Speaking of Sharon, he's come under some fire. People say maybe he doesn't fight hard enough in games. We've seen the blocking, but on that last touchdown drive, twice on third down you go to him. What has he shown you the past few weeks?
You know, he's gaining more confidence, you know, week by week. You know, he's just a different kind of player than Mike. You know, Mike isn't, like I told you before, isn't above the rim. You know, Sharon's working on that element of his game, but what you're seeing out of him is he's not afraid to catch the slants. You know, those are critical. You know, everybody focuses on the down the field, you know, low percentage balls that you want to try and make a play on, but those high percentage throws, you got to have those. And he showed that. He came up big on the screens, so he's doing so we're trying to figure out what's his best strength and really play to that strength, you know, as opposed to try and force him something that he's not quite as comfortable doing.
Tony, how are these guys handling not just the attention, but the, you know, being number one in the country? Are these guys handling pretty well? I'm just thinking back to, you know, when you were in college, if this had been happening, you guys probably would have been jumping out of buildings.
You know, they're handling it well, and that's a credit to our senior leadership and the culture that Coach Sweeney has in place, because there's an expectation to be here. But we've also been, you know, in similar situations where we're having success and we didn't handle the success right. So they're constantly reminded of that. But McLean, just thinking about it on offense, McLean, you know, does a great job with the guys up front. You know, the guys in my room, Zach Brooks, you know, may not be having as much success, but man, he's dialed in, he's focused, he's challenging those guys to work. You know, Leggett has been, you know, he's gone from, I used to call him Lazy Leggett when he first got here, to now Leggett the leader, because he's trying to be a leader. And then in that room, you got that quiet confidence in Sharon. So they're handling it well. They're not satisfied, and they understand that right now is not the time, you know, to look up and pat yourself on the chest. We want to be there, you know, after the championship game on December 6th. That's when it's going to matter where we ring.
You've mentioned McLean's leadership a couple times today. What has he done this year to just emerge as a leader of this offense?
Well, first, he's elevated his level of play. You know, you're seeing him play at a high level, and so now he's always been a guy that carried himself well off the field. Everybody respected his, you know, just the way he carries himself, his demeanor, his intelligence, and now he's playing at a high level to where he brings it all full circle, and he's not allowing those guys to settle for being average. By him leading by example, he's able to demand, you know, those guys that are around him to step up to his level.
I've been meaning to ask about Zach, and if you've covered that, I apologize, but I think he has an extra year that he could play, but then he's listed as a senior. Has he decided to skip next season? Will he be back, or is that not?
You know, that's a decision that he made. You know, I think with the way that things have gone in his career, where he's at a point to graduate, you know, kind of where he wants to, what he wants to do in the future. You know, as of right now, he's kind of decided to list himself as a senior. Now that's subject to change. That's a decision upon his part. But right now, I think this is going to be his last year.